Hey, good morning, everybody. Today, we're going to start looking at different ways that we can organize and interpret data. Some of the different types of charts that we're going to be looking at, we're going to be looking at just a regular data table, frequency tables, stem and leaf plots, bar graphs, and histograms. So let's go ahead and take a look at what you're looking at right now. So this first table, this is just what we call a data table. So the information that's gathered with this table is specifically how old were you when you bought your first home in years. So this indicates that this person, we had one person that was 63, one person that was 31, one that was 41, one person that was 48, and so on. So in just a regular data table, you can see that information is just put in to the data table. Nothing is arranged in any type of specific order. Everything is just put in, and then it allows you to see what's there, but it's not really organized. I mean, it's organized in the sense that the data is in a table, but it's not very easy for us to read. So switching from a data table, which is this, to a frequency table will make that data interpretation much easier. Excuse me for the shakiness. I'm still trying to get better with this. Okay, so the frequency table below was made using the data from the table above. The frequency table is much easier to read and interpret than the data table. So that's just what we were talking about. So what's going on here, which is what we call a frequency table. The data used in the data table was organized below here. This was set up in intervals, 0 to 9. And we can use these as ages that people bought their first home. 0 to 9 years old, 10 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, and so on. So these are ages. And in this tally column is useful because when turning a data table into a frequency table, if you go up and find all of, we know that a person from 0 to 9 years old and 10 to 19 probably isn't going to be the year that they buy their first home. So I'm not surprised that the frequency here is 0. But let's count in the data table above how many 20s that we have. So age brackets between 20 and 29. So we've got 1. You can mark it out from the data table above and put a tally. Finding another 20-year-old age range. Here's a 29. You can mark this out of your data table and then put another tally. And we can find another one here, make a tally, cross it out. And you're going to do this for all of the data values above. So age ranges between 20 and 29 of how old were you when you bought your first home. We counted all of the 20 ranges. We tallied them up, and there were 6. 30 to 39, 5, 40 to 49, 7, and then so on. So in the frequency column, that lists where your totals are at. So 6, 5, 7, 3, and 3. So all that this did, this frequency table, just took the information that was in the data table above and made it much easier to interpret. So it's not that difficult. A frequency table is easy to make, it's easy to set up, and it really makes a difference when organizing your data. Okay, next we're going to look at what's called a stem and leaf plot. A stem and leaf plot can be a little bit confusing just because, I don't know, to me, the way that it looks, but once you get used to looking at it and realize what it is, it really makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to read the definition of this first. So a stem and leaf plot organizes and displays data using stems and leaves. In the diagram that we're going to look at, the first data value, well, I'm not going to read all that now. Let's just go over to our stem and leaf plot. Okay, so this is the stem and leaf plot, and this stem and leaf plot is displaying data with the category of time spent studying in minutes. Okay, so you're probably thinking, what is all this stuff here? So let's talk about this. So time spent studying in minutes. Okay, so this column on the left represents your tens column, and this column over here represents, we'll look at it as your minute increments. So there are 13 data values, and if you've asked where do these 13 data values come from, they come from directly from this table. So here we have one data value of 1 and 0, which equals 10. Then we have another instance of someone spent 10 minutes studying, 1 and 0. And then someone spent 15 minutes studying. How do I know that? Because we have a 1, and then we have a 15. Another person spent 15 minutes studying, 1 and 5, which gives us 15, and so on. So altogether, with the 13 data values, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this is, you can count this column. This will represent how many data values there are. This column, all that you do is you're just going to combine the left side of the column with one of the numbers that is in the right. So let's kind of interpret this a little bit more. So this tells us that the data values 15 and 30 occur most often. The greatest data value is 45, and the least data value is 10. Let's see, if this is confusing, let's try to look at it this way. So we have 13 data values, and we know that because we counted 13 different values. And let's draw these out. So time spent studying in minutes. We have one person that studied 10 minutes. 1 and 0 is 10. We have another person that studied 10 minutes. We had a 1 and a 5. That was a 15. Another 1 and a 5 for 15. And another 1 and a 5 for 15. So if we use the tens bracket, we can see that there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 logs of studying that were between that were either 10 and 15 minutes. And if we count this, we have 5 values: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Makes sense. Now, if we want to look at how many people studied in the 20 to 25 minute range, well, we're just going to go down to our 2, go over to our first data value, 2 and a 0. This gives us a 20. If we go over to the next one, 2 and 5. So someone studied 25 minutes, and then there's one more, 2 and 5. So there was another person that studied 25. So a lot more people studied within the 10 and 15 minute range than the 20 and 25 minute. Now let's look at the 30s. How many people studied in the 30 minute range? Well, we have 130, 230, 330, and then 135. So 30, 30, 30, and 35. And then now we'll go to the 40 minute range. We have a 4, so this indicates at least in the 40-minute range, and then a 5. So this tells us that someone studied 45 minutes for the test. Okay, so now we've taken all the data that were listed in this stem and leaf plot, and then you can see that I've converted it over into the actual full data values. So if I were to ask you the question of which data values occur most often, then all you need to do is just count your data values and see which ones occur most often. We've got 3 15s, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 3 30s. So the data values 15 and 30 occur the most often. What is the greatest data value? Well, if you go down to the bottom of our stem and leaf plot, we see that it ends with the 40-minute range, and then we don't have a 0, but we have a 5. So the greatest data value is 45, and the least data value is 10. How do we know that? We know that because the 10s are our smallest or least amount of time spent studying. So stem and leaf plots can look a little bit weird, but once you understand how they work with the columns, I think that it really makes a lot of sense. The only thing with the stem and leaf plot is the more data values that you have, of course, the larger the stem and leaf plot is going to be. And if you include just a whole bunch of increments, like on this one was time spent studying in minutes, it did it in 5-minute increments. If you had done that in 1-minute increments, it would have been kind of a mess to read. So I like how the stem and leaf plot breaks things down into 5-minute segments. Okay, next we're going to look at a bar graph. So a bar graph is, I don't know, it seems to be one of the most commonly used graphs just because they're so useful. So a bar graph uses rectangular bars to show data. The bar graph below shows the number of minutes 5 students spent getting ready for school. So bar graphs are really easy to read. On your left, your vertical column, you have number of minutes spent getting ready for school, 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. And then next you have each person, students. So if we look at Anthony, Anthony spends 25 minutes getting ready for school. Lucida spends 20 minutes. If we look at Mario, man, Mario really takes a long time with his hair, doesn't he? If we look at his bar and we go over to number of minutes studying, Mario spent 40 minutes, Warren spent 15, and Tammy spent 35. So pretty easy to read. So the bar graph that we're looking at, it contains a title, it contains a horizontal and vertical axis with labels, it contains individual data values, and let's just see, to compare data shown by a bar graph, compare the heights of the bars. The tallest bars represent the greatest data values. So, and that makes sense. So the taller the bar, the greater the data value. The shorter the bar, the less of the data value. So any questions? That's good. And that was a really unfunny, dry joke. I don't know, some of my dry humor is getting the best of me now, having to work from home. Okay, looking at histograms. A histogram uses rectangular bars and area to represent the frequency of data. The histogram below shows how a class scored on their quiz. So if you're looking at this right now and thinking, how is this different than a bar graph? Well, a bar graph contains individual data values. And if we flip back over to our bar graph, and we look at our bar graph, everything is broken down individually. So Anthony, Lucida, Mario, Warren, and Tammy. Everything is an individual representation. If we look at the histogram is not broken down by individual data values. It's broken down in ranges. So here, this table, let's take a second to check out what we're looking at real quick. So this histogram contains a title. It also has a horizontal and vertical axis like the bar graph. And it says with regular intervals and labels, and it contains data. Well, of course it contains data because it's a histogram. Okay, so looking at our intervals, 60 to 69, 70 to 79, 80 to 89, and 90 to 99. So these represent our quiz scores or grade ranges. So 60 to 69, this is our D's, 70 to 79, C's, 80 to 89, and you guys see where that's going. So over here on the left, our vertical column represents the number of students or the number of quiz scores that were in a certain range. So if we look at the 60 to 69 quiz score range, it's set to 3. So there were 3 quizzes or 3 people that scored within this range. If we go to, let's see who did well on the quiz rather than poorly, because that's what we care about, that everybody is mastering our subject material. So if we look at the 90 to 99, if we go up and if we go over, you'll see that it falls along the 5 and it's listed with the 5. So there were 5 students that scored within the 90 to 99 range, 7 that scored in between 80 to 89, and so on. So the thing about a histogram, it really allows you to pull data that falls within certain set interval ranges. The way this one is set up is, who made A's, who made B's, who made C's, who made D's. It kind of groups everything together because if you go back and think about a bar graph represents individual values. So if you had a bar set up for all of these figures, a bar for 60, a bar for 61, a bar for 62, 63, 64, 65, all the way through 99, your bar graph would be a mess. So that's where these histograms are very useful for, because you have an interval range. So rather than rather than having 40 different bars, we only have 4. So it makes a lot of sense. And, and they're pretty easy to use. Okay, so that pretty much covers the graphs that we're going to look at just today. And I'm going to flip this camera around, or maybe I won't. I guess you guys just won't get to see my crazy hair today. I need a haircut so bad, you guys. It's funny. So anyway, so if you guys have any questions, this is going to be our tutorial. I will also be posting an assignment with this. I'm going to give you guys until today's Tuesday. I'm going to give you guys until Thursday afternoon at 5 o'clock to work on the assignment. If you have any questions, or if you need a little bit more time, just let me know. I'll give directions on how to submit this, included within your homework assignment, because I think we may have to do this a little bit different as far as submitting our work. So anyway, you guys have a great day. Thank you for listening, and I hope that this makes sense, and I hope you learned something new. So y'all have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.